Hello, Joe Simhart here again. It's March 21st, 2025. I've been purging a lot of my stuff because we're thinking of moving, and I've gotten rid of maybe 1,000 books and files and whatever, and I try to carefully keep what I'd like to keep. But I came across the box of things that an ex-member had given me from a group she was with that was headed by still is, by a lady named Knight Jadczyk. And I started looking around the internet to see what's going on with her. I haven't paid much attention since I published something on the website about her in 2013, and the response was typical of people that hate my criticism, much like J.Z. Knight or Elizabeth Prophet or Leon Ashanti, any number of these channelers that have criticized, come back and call me everything from a criminal to a psychopath. And this Knight Jadczyk more or less posted the same sort of thing. But anyway, so I'm listening to this podcast she was on called Forbidden Knowledge News, and it was about the Cassiopeian experiment. Scientific mysticism is what they call it. And so in part of the interview, they're talking about what happened to Trump when he was nicked by a bullet during the campaign. So Knight Jadczyk says, let me add, we just witnessed a miracle. When Donald Trump didn't die, he turned his head at the exact moment. I mean, to me, that was like, it's like whoever is. And the C's, so that's capital C apostrophe S, the Cassiopeians, I'll explain that in a second, did comment on that. They said that there was a meeting and a decision not to allow him to be assassinated. So that was kind of like a miracle. The influence to make him turn his head was allowed to enter in. And then, I personally have experienced miracles, like Harrison just said. Harrison's her partner who helps write her books and do research, a younger man. By the way, I think Laura Knight is 73 right now. Like Harrison said, 1 in a billion possibilities. So miracles do happen. We don't give up hope. We do what we do because it's the right thing to do. And don't put an expectation on it, but just keep on doing it 100%. So what does she do? So let's look at her history a little bit. She was raised in the eastern United States. According to her autobiography, in some kind of a fundamentalist Christian household, which she later decided was like a prison, like a matrix of sorts, a religious matrix. And that plays here too, because she uses this idea of the film, The Matrix, a lot, like a lot of conspiracy people like to do, that we on Earth are in this matrix of illusion that's controlled by powers. Kind of like the ancient Manichaeans believed in radical dualism, and that these evil entities that were associated with planets influence us. Ancient Gnostics picked up on that theme. The Manichaeans were part of that movement, that the demiurge or the false creator God has us trapped here, and we have kind of divine spark. And I've talked about this before, but she's in that camp of people that believe we're trapped in some kind of a matrix, and she has found a way through using the Ouija board decades ago to scientifically contact some source of truth that would never lie to her. And she ended up contacting something called the Cassiopeians, who are in some star system around the system of Cassiopaean. And through the Ouija board, and she gets these messages. So, and that has spurred her on into doing a deep dive into esoteric history, and mostly in the occult worlds. She's kind of like some people might say a knockoff of Madame Blavatsky, but you get the idea. So what she does here with the Trump idea is believe the C's, the Cassiopeians, somehow have a way of influencing us. And the reason they do that is in order to help us to survive. There's this idea that we're not going to get out of here alive unless we know something. In other words, the gnosis, the deep knowledge in all of her writings. She also believes that mediumship is true and that some people have this connection with some deep God that's beyond the average person. Like, for instance, she says, but at the same time, we know there are people like Padre Pio and others who have levitated. And we know there are, absolute miracles of healing. And you look at somebody like Daniel Douglas Home and Eusebia Palladino and of these other amazing mediums that could do things that were just unbelievable. So you know that there is something that's possible. So she's a believer in that kind of testimony of these inadvertent miracles that are attributed to saints and gurus and sadhus and shamans and whatever. What's interesting about her, I think, is she's prolific. She seems to be able to, with a team, perhaps write relatively interesting long tomes that, if you're into this stuff, they, are kind of familiar ways of skipping through the occult world, so to speak. So, but on the Wikipedia site, Rational Wiki, she is classified here as an American pseudo-historian and unified conspiracy theorist, and perhaps mainly known for her channeling of the Cassiopeians and the fake news platform SOTT.net. SOT.net, a self-styled scientific mystic and paleo-Christian shaman. So paleo-Christianity is something she claims to represent, which transcends what the normal Catholic Protestant Christians believe. She's very close to David Icke in terms, not as popular as him, but certainly in that realm. Since 2003, she has lived in France together with part of her inner circle. She's married to theoretical physicist Arkadiusz Jadczyk, who plays less visible roles in organizations. The two of them have become promoters, or at least favorable to Vladimir Putin's agenda, which isn't unusual for occultists on the left or the right. And the occultists on the right tend to be fundamentalist Christians. But to believe in some sort of a God or theocratic-based hierarchy that will guide the earth like ascended masters do and bring us into some kind of a utopia if we follow their directions. And the directions we're following here are from the Cassiopeians that give indications to Laura that she interprets and then writes books about. But here's another thing on the internet. It says that over the years, LKJ has increasingly come to see the signs and symbols of the present and past as pointing in the direction of the specialness of herself and the Cassiopeians. In 2011, she openly embraced the idea that she is the pillar upon which the fate of the whole world rests. Where other people easily end up dead as soon as the powers that be dislike them enough, LKJ is so important that even the worst of villains can't kill her, because that would be the end of the entire planet, literally. So you can glean that from a lot of her works, and I have in the past, but basically what I see going on here is someone, like a lot of people that become cosmic narcissists. They believe that they are the cosmos is them. It's connected through what the Hindus call the Atman and the Brahman. They are identical, they are the same. So there's kind of a facile ease to get into this non-dualism with a lot of occultists and mystics. But what they do with it is a whole other question. And that's what we're looking at, is what do they do with it? You know, what are they really teaching us here? And what's their behavior like here on Earth, as opposed to this cosmic psychobabble that we're hearing from them? It basically comes down to you have to know reality, the gnosis, or grok it in some way. For instance, her channeled source likes to repeat, knowledge protects, ignorance endangers. So how can you become truly safe, was the question from Laura to the Cassiopeians through the Ouija board. What can protect us? The answer was knowledge. Ouija boards tend to give brief answers because it takes a lot of time to get all this stuff out. Question, Laura, how do we get this knowledge? Answer from the Cassiopeians, you are being given it through this source now. And then there's a ... Answer, just knowing about it gives psychic defense. So you're protected when you know about this kind of knowledge. One of the researchers, a mental health professional named, forgive me if I mispronounce his name, Andrea Lebachewski. He lived from 1921 to 2007 or 8, depending on your source. He adopted the term ponerology, which is derived from the Greek word poneros and from the branch of theology dealing with the study of evil. So he suffered under both Nazi and communist regimes. He couldn't practice under the communist regime when he was in Poland because a lot of psychoanalysts who studied evil and politics were suppressed. But he did write quite a bit. And his book on ponerology was republished around 2008 with an introduction by Laura, Knight Jadczyk. And under her publication book, the Red Pill Press, red pilling again, an aside to the Matrix. So, you know, I'm not sure if Lebachowski would appreciate the way she uses it, but in any case, she uses this, and if you look at the cover, to indict just about any political leader out there. She didn't like George W. Bush, for instance, and he's on the cover of the book, along with other demonic-looking political leaders. And I'll give a link to all of this, but what I'm bringing up out here is the projection by someone like this, whether it's J.Z. Knight or Elizabeth Clare Prophet, the cult leader I had followed for a bit. There's this sense of wanting to perfect the world through connection with the hierarchy, the ascended masters, the Cassiopeians, God, whatever, and that there are chosen ones on the earth that are attracted to this, the inner circle, who will bring that about as long as they pay attention to the instructions and do the work. There's no guarantees, of course, but full 100% effort is necessary. And that means a lot of people dedicate a lot of money and time to these groups, including this one that's centered on the Cassiopeians. So it seems like everyone else is a psychopath or has a deep characterological disorder, except the one doing the channeling. And if you ask the ex-members, including several ex-members I've talked to from this group run by Laura, they see her as the psychopath, as someone who just takes no prisoners when it comes to anyone that might criticize her. So, sure, she can do what she wants, like thousands of other channelers like her are doing today. And I don't think we need to spend a lot of time trying to do anything to prevent what's going on here, but I'm just adding a little bit of insight into this, and I'll add some links. And you can read her books if you want to. Here's 9/11. I got a cat here, excuse me. Okay, get it. The Ultimate Truth About 9/11 by Laura. It came out in 2005. There's some interesting stuff in here. She channels stuff from the Cassiopeians. And we're supposed to believe that was part of a big conspiracy. For instance, on page 275 here, question to the Cassiopeians, what was the Ark of the Covenant? Answer, power cell. Laura, what was the origin of this power cell? Answer, lizards given to the Jews to use for the manipulation of others. Why was it that you came close to this object or touched it? Would you die? Answer, energy overload, scrambling by reverse electromagnetism. What is reverse electromagnetism? Turned inward. What effect? Anyway, it just goes on to this whole liquefaction of matter. But here you get this idea of this lizard creation, these lizard beings, what Elizabeth Clare Prophet would call the twofold flamed people that don't have a proper human brain. That somehow these are the creatures that gave Moses the Ark of the Covenant. She claims she's not anti-Semitic, but I would say that's kind of an anti-Semitic remark. So there's other books. This one's from 2003 to 2011, this edition. Petty Tyrants and Facing the Unknown, Navigating the Traps and Diversions of the Matrix. So we dive into the Matrix in this book. This one here is High Strangeness, Hyperdimensions and the Process of Alien Abduction, 2008. And another one is Almost Human, The Wave, Book 7, 2009. And this is kind of like a magnum opus. It's about 800 pages long, The Secret History of the World, and How to Get Out Alive. I'm not going to go through all this. I read it. Earlier editions of her writings, 2002, Ascension, The True Quest for the Holy Grail, The Ancient Secret Science Revealed. So now again, we have occult science, the occult sciences, which was really introduced a lot more in the 19th century to compete with what became scientism. The occult significance of 9/11. Here we go in 2002 again, looking at that through the eyes of the Cassiopeians. And then there's a whole lot of transcripts, 2002, from the Cassiopeia galaxy. And this one has an interesting graphic on the cover. 2004, The High Strangeness of Dimensions, Densities, and the Process of Alien Abduction. All right, so you get an idea who she is. Make up your own mind. You have my opinion. Be careful with the information if you dive into it. Anyway, thank you for listening, and enjoy your day.